The average American fills up every 9 days. The average Japanese driver fills up every 14. Same roads, same physics, same gasoline, completely different results. Here's the thing, big oil is counting on you never figuring out. Every gallon you don't burn is a gallon they don't sell. Dealerships? They make money when your parts wear out early. Nobody in this industry gets paid to teach you this. Today, I'm giving you 7 habits, $0 to implement, starting on your very next drive. If you own a Honda, Toyota, Mazda, or Subaru, your car was literally engineered in a country where gas costs $7 a gallon. You've been driving a precision tool like a gas-guzzling pickup truck. Let's start with the 2 habits most people blow past because they sound too simple to matter, but they're not. Go pop your trunk right now, or just think about what's in it. Golf clubs you haven't touched since August, a bag of road salt left over from last winter, a car seat the kid outgrew 2 years ago. One guy I heard about had a spare tire sitting on top of his original spare because he forgot the first one was already in there. All that dead weight is costing you fuel on every single mile you drive. The physics are straightforward. Every extra 100 pounds in that car increases fuel consumption by roughly 1 to 2%. Run that over 12,000 miles a year with 200 extra pounds, which is conservative for the average American driver, and you're burning 2 to 4% more fuel the entire time. That's not a rounding error. That's real money going straight to the pump every single week. The Japanese have a word for this kind of waste, muda, silent, invisible loss that nobody notices until they add it up. Dead trunk weight is muda in its purest form. It costs you every day and gives you absolutely nothing back. And while you're at it, look at your roof rack. If it stays on the car year-round, even when you're hauling nothing, you're paying an aerodynamic penalty on every mile. An empty rack at highway speeds adds 5 to 7% drag. A Japanese driver would pull it off between trips without thinking twice. 5 minutes, real savings. Now, habits, and this one is embarrassingly cheap to fix. In Japan, checking tire pressure at every fill-up isn't considered a pro tip. It's considered basic competence, the same way you'd check your mirrors before pulling out. 3 minutes, a free air pump, measurable return. Here's why it matters more than most people realize. A single tire running 6 pounds per square inch below spec costs roughly 3% more in fuel from rolling resistance alone. 6 pounds per square inch low does not look flat. It looks completely normal. Most drivers running 2 or 3 tires below spec right now have no idea because the car does not feel any different. Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and Mazda 3 owners, your OBD port will show the difference in real-time fuel trims when pressure drops below spec. The data is sitting right there if you want proof. Temperature swings make this worse than most people account for. Every 10 degrees Fahrenheit drop in outside temperature costs roughly 1 pound per square inch across your tires. A Toyota Camry properly inflated in September can be running 4 pounds per square inch low by December without a single puncture, just from seasonal temperature change. Japanese drivers who check every fill-up catch those drops before they compound. Drivers who check once a month spend the entire cold season running low and wonder why their mileage is worse all winter. Weight and pressure are the fast, free wins. Go handle those this week. Now here's where things get interesting, because the next 2 habits involve mistakes that even careful, fuel-conscious drivers make constantly. Almost every fuel-saving video tells you to ditch the air conditioning and drive with the windows down. That advice is flat wrong above 50 miles per hour. Opening windows at highway speed creates aerodynamic drag that costs you more fuel than the compressor does. The goal is not less comfort, it is smarter timing. The most expensive moment to run your air conditioning is the first 2 minutes after you start the car on a hot day. The cabin is at peak temperature, The engine is still cold and working harder than normal to reach operating temperature, and the compressor kicks on at maximum load from a dead stop. That combination, superheated cabin, cold engine, compressor at maximum load, is the single biggest fuel spike of your entire drive, and most people do it every single day without a second thought. What Japanese drivers do instead is simple. Before getting in on a hot day, crack the windows for 60 seconds and let the trapped heat escape. Then drive with the windows down for the first minute of movement. Let the airflow do the initial temperature drop, and only then switch the air conditioning on. By that point, the system does not have to fight from a standing start at full load. The Toyota Prius and the Honda Insight have climate preconditioning built in for exactly this reason. The engineers knew the startup spike was a problem and designed around it. Then, turn off the air conditioning 2 minutes before you arrive at your destination. The cabin is already cool. The system already did the work. Those last 2 minutes of compressor runtime are pure waste. Now, once you're moving and the car is in the right state, there's a specific speed range where your 4-cylinder engine engineered in Japan is doing its most efficient work. For the vast majority of these motors, that window sits between 45 and 55 miles per hour, not 65, not 70. Above that range, aerodynamic drag doesn't increase gradually, it increases exponentially. According to U.S. Department of Energy data, fuel economy drops roughly 14% at 65 miles per hour compared to 55 miles per hour, and up to 30% at 75 miles per hour. Going faster doesn't just cost a little more, it costs a lot more, and it compounds fast. Inside the cabin, that speed window corresponds to about 1,500 to 2,200 revolutions per minute in your highest gear. That's the range where the combustion cycle runs most efficiently. The engine is doing real work without being stressed. If you drive a Mazda with a Skyactiv G engine, this isn't a coincidence. Mazda engineered that entire powertrain around maximizing efficiency in exactly that revolutions per minute band. Staying in it isn't just good practice, it's literally what the motor was designed for. Glance at your tachometer on your next comfortable highway stretch and find that needle position. That's your target. You've got the car cleaned out, the tires right, the air conditioning working for you instead of against you, and the speed dialed in. Now we get to where the real money is, how you use the pedals. Here's a myth that's probably costing you money right now, especially if you think of yourself as a careful driver. Most people believe that smooth acceleration means slow acceleration, that you ease onto the gas as gently as possible, crawl up to speed, and the engine rewards you for being gentle. That belief is wrong, and if you drive that way, you're likely burning more fuel than you need to, not less. Smooth and slow are not the same thing. The difference comes down to RPM, how hard the engine is working at any given moment. Every gasoline engine has an efficient range, and for normal acceleration, that ceiling sits at roughly 2,500 RPM. Stay below it, and you're in the efficient zone. Go above it, and fuel consumption climbs sharply. The problem with accelerating too slowly is that you stay stuck in a lower gear far longer than necessary. Lower gears mean higher RPM at any given road speed. So while you think you're being gentle on the engine, you're holding it in a less efficient state for longer than a driver who accelerates with more purpose. You're not saving fuel. You're burning more of it by dragging through the gears at high RPM when the car wants to shift up and settle. The correct method is firm, smooth, and deliberate. Enough intent to move through the gear changes quickly, keeping the tachometer below 2,500 RPM the whole time, and settling into your cruise speed as fast as possible. Get to the efficient RPM band and stay there. If you drive a Honda Civic or HR-V with a continuously variable transmission, or CVT, this matters even more. Continuously variable transmissions are specifically tuned to reward this style. Floor it from a dead stop and the CVT holds high RPM for a long time, hunting for the right ratio. Accelerate with controlled intent and it climbs to the efficient ratio fast and stays there. The transmission is literally designed to respond to how you apply the pedal, and the difference in fuel consumption between those two approaches is measurable. OBD data from controlled tests on the same route in the same car shows a 12 to 15% improvement when drivers correct their acceleration technique alone. Same road, same car, different habit. Now, the flip side of acceleration is deceleration, and this is where most drivers are leaving serious money on the table every single day. When you lift off the throttle in a modern fuel-injected car while a gear is still engaged, the fuel injectors cut off almost entirely. The engine is still spinning, still connected to the wheels, but the computer recognizes there is no throttle input and shuts the fuel feed down. The engine's own compression slows the car, and it does it for nearly free. This is called engine braking, and it is built into every fuel-injected car made in the last 20-plus years. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Subaru, they all do this by design. It is not a trick. It is not a workaround. The system was engineered to work this way, and most American drivers never learned it was happening because nobody in driver's ed mentions it, and the industry has zero financial reason to bring it up. The habit shift is straightforward. Stop reaching for the brake pedal the moment you see a reason to slow down. Lift off the gas first. Let the engine do the work for free. Use the actual brakes only when you need to bring the car to a full stop, not the instant you first notice a slowdown coming up ahead. Beyond the fuel savings, there is a compounding financial benefit that almost nobody talks about. Brake pads wear in direct proportion to how often and how hard they are used. A driver using engine braking consistently, arriving at stops already slowing, rather than arriving fast and braking hard, can realistically double brake pad lifespan. We are talking 60 to 80,000 miles versus 30 to 40,000 on the same car. At $300 to $400 per brake job at a dealer or chain shop, that habit is saving money in two directions at the same time. Less fuel burned and fewer consumable parts replaced. But engine braking only works if you see the slowdown early enough to use it. Which brings us to the single most important habit on this entire list. Anticipatory driving is what makes every other technique on this list function in the real world. Japanese driving instruction treats it as the foundation of basic competence behind the wheel, not an advanced skill. It means reading the road 15 to 20 seconds ahead of your current position, roughly a quarter mile at highway speed or 2 to 3 blocks in city traffic. Here is what that looks like in practice. You see a light turn yellow a quarter mile out. You lift off now. You coast on engine compression. By the time you reach that intersection, it may have cycled back to green, and you roll through without ever stopping, without braking, without burning fuel, re-accelerating from zero. If it stays red, you arrive rolling slowly instead of arriving at speed and standing on the brakes. Either outcome, you have burned almost nothing over that entire stretch. The driver behind you, who kept their foot in it until 50 feet from the stop line, burned significantly more and then had to accelerate all over again. OBD fleet data and third-party studies consistently put the fuel consumption gap between reactive drivers and anticipatory drivers at 20 to 30% on identical routes in identical cars. That gap does not come from the engine. It comes from where the driver's eyes are pointed. Subaru EyeSight and Toyota Safety Sense were both partially designed around anticipatory driving principles. Those systems are literally trying to do this for you, reading ahead, preloading brake pressure, managing following distance. But a driver who already thinks this way gets 10 times more out of those features than one who is still reacting at the bumper. Here is a practical drill to build this fast. Before pulling out of any parking lot, say 20 seconds out loud. It resets your visual horizon before you are even moving. At your first red light, look 2 lights ahead instead of at the car in front of you. Train your eyes to read the pattern, not just the immediate obstacle. Big Oil's entire business model runs on reactive driving. Every hard stop, every cold air conditioning blast, every trunk packed with junk is a direct deposit into their account. These 7 habits, applied consistently, are the difference between filling up every 9 days and every 14 days. That gap is real money every single month for as long as you drive. Your Japanese car wasn't built for reactive driving, cheap habits, or someone else's profit margin. It was built for exactly this. 7 habits, $0, and you're finally driving the machine the way the engineers intended it to be driven. Drop a comment below and tell me which habit you're starting with on your next drive. I read every single one. If you want to go deeper, subscribe to Japanese Motor Vault. Watch the next video on the right for more money-saving owner tips, advice, and wisdom.